Hello humans, I'm Yoshiller, and I'm making a bit of a different video today. This video is more of a calm, kind of reflective video, and it's not about me, but it's about a company YouTube channel that I used to watch called ScrewAttack. And if you don't know ScrewAttack, that's fine. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is that ScrewAttack had a bigger influence on social media and gaming communities than people realize. And the reason I'm making this video now is because recently the ScrewAttack YouTube channel and social media accounts announced that they're gonna rebrand their channel name and switch it over to the Death Battle channel, because the main show that they produce nowadays is a show called Death Battle, and maybe you're more familiar with that, and even if you're not, that's fine. This video is mainly just for me to discuss ScrewAttack and how important it is to me, and why I believe, at least, that they are as important as I find them to be on social media and gaming influence in general. There are a lot of other YouTubers that I know that I've had the pleasure to work with and meet and watch that have also been inspired by ScrewAttack. And they have gone around and posted their thoughts and comments on the matter. And just to be clear, I'm not necessarily angry or upset at this decision. I'm not too surprised that they are finally changing their name to the Death Battle channel. ScrewAttack's biggest show right now is Death Battle, and in recent years their main focus is Death Battle. So sure, they're putting all their eggs in one basket, but given today's climate and structure of YouTube, to me that just makes sense. I just want to make it clear that these comments don't come from any sort of malice or spite or anger. It's just me commenting on how I think things are and how I wish things could be. So to give you guys some context, I was watching ScrewAttack probably since about 2007, 2008. I believe I first discovered ScrewAttack back when it was on a website called Game Trailers, which, simply put, was a website where you could find a collection of upcoming video game trailers, and when E3 would roll around, that was the website you would check to watch gaming announcements and previews and gameplay videos and stuff like that. And ScrewAttack was part of this website, and ScrewAttack primarily had three shows. They had the Angry Video Game Nerd, they had Top 10s, and they had something called Video Game Vault, where basically they would talk about a game that maybe a lot of people knew or a lot of people didn't know, and they would just do a quick 5-minute video about the game. And those are the big three shows. Now, of these three, the most popular was probably the Angry Video Game Nerd. To this day, he's still making videos. He does a fantastic job, and you could make the argument that he has essentially pioneered the way that video game reviews are done on YouTube. And his video style has definitely changed over the years, sure, but every time you watch one of his videos, you felt like you were watching a show. You weren't just watching some guy with a webcam in his room. But it's just a good way for me to segue into this next topic. A lot of other gaming-related content creators on YouTube also got their start at ScrewAttack, whether it was an employee that worked in the ScrewAttack office or just an affiliate of ScrewAttack that hosted their content on the website. So, for example, on top of Angry Video Game Nerd, you've also got Pro Jared, who worked at the ScrewAttack headquarters. You've got Trailer Drake, who worked at the ScrewAttack headquarters. You've got other shows, such as Game Theory, Taco Man, Andre the Black Nerd, Nathan Barnett, Brental Floss, even Egoraptor, and you can even make the argument Game Grumps probably all were either influenced by or took inspiration from ScrewAttack. ScrewAttack was very community-oriented. It never really felt like a corporation. And while it was definitely a business, it's one of those companies where it doesn't feel like there's some big boss man at the top who wants to run everything for money. It definitely feels like a fun place to be. Similarly, I'm in a situation now where I work at a company that's very similar to what ScrewAttack used to be. I work for Gerard the Completionist, who also got his start on ScrewAttack, and the company I work at is, I would say, very community-based. And while we do make certain decisions that are money-based because we have to do crowd-funded projects that are funded through things like Patreon, I would still say that working for the Completionist is a lot like working for ScrewAttack. And I can confidently say that because I know some people who do work at ScrewAttack, and I've met some of the people who used to work at ScrewAttack. And ScrewAttack was a lot of fun because whether they did a video that was scripted or unscripted, a video that was high production value or low in production value, it was just a lot of fun because the people who worked on those videos were fun people. They had a great personality. What they were doing, they were passionate about, and that's what made it very fun. ScrewAttack had a lot of great shows, so I previously mentioned Video Game Vault and Top 10s. There was also the Clip of the Week, which was really where ScrewAttack shined. Basically, once a week, they would just post a video related to anything, whether it was a current event, an old event, that maybe they parodied something. Man, I remember there were classics. One of my favorites was the Kid Icarus fan film, which is a Kid Icarus movie intentionally made to look low budget, intentionally made to look as terrible as possible, but there's just such a charm to it. And I know that there are other gaming group channels out there now. They're all great channels, but I think ScrewAttack was the first YouTube channel that I could think of that consistently did gaming-related videos like this, just doing hilarious parody videos that looked surprisingly good given their low production value. It was just fun. I could probably edit this type of stuff now, but they were doing this type of stuff back in 2011, 2012. These guys were great. They'd make you laugh. They were just, I'm going around in circles now. The people who worked at this company were just great people with great personalities. You pretty much came to know everybody that worked at that website. ScrewAttack in that regard is important to me because it makes me kind of realize that I shouldn't take my job for granted, and it also makes me realize that it showed that you could have a fun and successful company without having to do business all the time. I'm sure they had their stressful nights there. I'm sure they constantly worked around the clock, but the content they made, you could pick a random video and it would be funny, it would be great, and even if it wasn't their best video, you would still enjoy it. There was never really the sense of doubt with what you were watching on ScrewAttack. Another big thing they did was they held a convention called the ScrewAttack Gaming Convention, or SGC for short. And they would invite all of their collaborators and creators to these events. So if you wanted to go and meet, let's say, Andre the Black Nerd or the Angry Video Game Nerd or Nathan Barnett, they would be at SGC and you could just go and meet them and party. I know that there are a lot of conventions these days. The most comparable convention I can say to SGC is probably MagFest, in the sense that, it's a convention that doesn't sleep. You can, if you're awake at 2 a.m, you can go downstairs and party and do something and watch a panel or compete in a competition. And the community around ScrewAttack, I just recall being very cool, very open-minded, very collective. Not like you could say maybe ScrewAttack was a clique, it was its own thing, but nobody would really bash you if you weren't interested in ScrewAttack, but nobody would really bash you if you were either. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to say this as nicely as possible. If you go to other conventions, sometimes certain fans of certain franchises kind of ruin the experience for everybody. Rather infamously, right? The Pokemon community is pretty torn. The Fire Emblem community, you could say, is pretty torn. Some people prefer the newer games, some people prefer the older games. Even some communities like Animal Crossing could be a little vicious sometimes, as far as I'm concerned. But ScrewAttack fans, G1s as they were called, were very, very calm people, very dedicated people. It seemed like ScrewAttack had a very cool fan base, creating fan art and creating fan projects. And I think the reason for that was because ScrewAttack as a company welcomed that type of thing. They promoted that type of thing. If you wanted to do something cool at ScrewAttack would say, okay, let's do it. Even though they can't read every comment because, who can? You could definitely tell that they did read the comments and they did want to be the best that they could be. SGC was really a time where you could kind of feel that all the creators there were happy to see their fans, and all the fans were happy to see the people that inspired them, the creators. ScrewAttack meant a lot to me because I would come home, and there were two main things I would watch initially from ScrewAttack. And every day there was something called Hard News, where they would do a gaming news recap of the 3 or 4 biggest stories of the day. This was usually hosted, at least when I started watching it, it was hosted by Pro Jared. That's how he got his start. And then after Pro Jared left ScrewAttack, that's when a few other people started hosting it, and it was still pretty fun. Then the other main thing I would watch was every week they would do a podcast. And it was one of the only podcasts I really watched or listened to, and it was called Sidescrollers. And simply put, it was a podcast that was split into 3 categories. The first category was the biggest gaming news of the week. The second category was the biggest or the weirdest overall news of the week. And then the third category was answering fan questions and remarks. And it was just such a funny time to listen to some of it. And again, that's welcomed by the fact that the people who work at ScrewAttack all meshed well with each other. Even if they had conflicting opinions, they were still able to talk about different things without yelling or screaming at each other. They were very cooperative. And Sidescrollers was just a fun time because, let's say they talk about gaming news and they disagree about something. Well, they talk about it, but you were interested to hear both sides. It was just funny. And there were other things that involved a lot of their cast and crew. And even though they all did different things, they all still worked together. So even if you didn't watch ScrewAttack, and even if the people you watch didn't watch ScrewAttack, it would be ignorant to say that ScrewAttack didn't, at least in some way, influence how gaming social media accounts and channels deliver content today. There are a lot of gaming channels out there. A lot of them do Let's Plays, a lot of them do live streams, a lot of them might do skits. There's a lot of channels out there. But I think you can make a strong case to say that ScrewAttack was one of, if not the first, community-oriented gaming channels out there that really made people want to watch their content and want to create their own content. And, you know, this isn't even with me digging into how ScrewAttack used to go to E3 and show preview videos, or how ScrewAttack had competitions called Iron Man of Gaming where they would actually unveil certain games. I think Sonic the Hedgehog 4 got unveiled through a ScrewAttack convention. That's crazy to me. This is just me pretty much thanking ScrewAttack for everything they've done. And I'm really happy that so many of my friends and influencers have also been positively impacted by ScrewAttack. And the reason for this change makes sense. The owner of ScrewAttack doesn't own ScrewAttack anymore. He wanted to go and do more gaming-focused things. ScrewAttack launched a show called Death Battle, which, if you're unfamiliar with it, it is a YouTube show where two popular icons, whether they be from a cartoon, a video game, a comic, usually a fictional character, two fictional characters would go at each other and they would say who would win in a fight. So you might have Batman versus Spider-Man. You might have, well, the most popular one was Goku versus Superman. Bomberman versus Dig Dug was one of them. You get the idea. They've done a lot of these, and naturally the show was very popular, a little too popular. So when ScrewAttack realized that this show was significantly more popular than the other shows they had on their YouTube channel, they decided to focus on Death Battle full time. Because before they were doing it about once every 2-3 months, and now that they realized they could do it monthly, and in between each episode they could do an update video or a podcast or something about Death Battle, it made sense to go in that direction. So Death Battle is where they're at now. They are changing their name to the Death Battle channel, and I believe they are privatizing or taking down, pretty sure privatizing, a lot of their older videos. And I just wanted to make this video before that actually happened. So, ScrewAttack, thank you for everything. I know a lot of employees still work for the Death Battle channel, as it's called now, and that's, you know, still cool by me. It's hard for me to go a day without thinking about how important ScrewAttack is to me. So, thank you very much. See you all in future videos. I look forward to more Death Battle, and I look forward to seeing where the future lies for ScrewAttack and its employees. All right, bye-bye, humans. Whoosh.